Running a bar is tough, but these owners made things even harder by being their own worst enemies. In this video, we take a look at the bar owners who drove their businesses into the ground. In the case of this owner, he didn't want anything to do with the bar from the very beginning. We're, of course, talking about Ed Cressy, who was once the landlord of the Dugout, but eventually became its owner. After several months of the original owner not paying rent, Cressy was forced to evict the person running the bar. Since he failed to find another buyer, Cressy unwillingly took over the business in July of 2011.
If I would have given up my hand modeling career 5 years earlier, I wouldn't have had to run a bar.
On every occasion possible, the landlord turned owner would always point out that he'd rather do 100 other things than run a bar.
I can think of 100 things I'd rather do than run this bar.
Clearly, it was never his life's ambition to own or operate one. Once he took over the reins, he understood that the Dugout had a very inconsistent income stream. While the bar would be packed during the active baseball season, it would become as empty as Wrigley Field seats the moment the season was over. During the off-season, the bar reportedly lost $30,000 to $40,000, which was way higher than what they made during the baseball season. Emily, their bartender, was passionate about her job, but Cressy's lack of interest and indulgence in alcohol overwhelmed her.
I meet the most amazing people here. That's why I work here.
Make your employees happy.
The fluctuating income not only had a great impact on the business, but also the staff's temper.
That's not real! That's not a thing!
Additionally, Cressy's lack of expertise further contributed to the bar's decline, and what's worse, he was always absent when the staff truly needed him.
Every time we need him, he's nowhere to be found.
He came up with obnoxious gimmicks like the hot pussy drink in an effort to attract in customers, but sadly, all of his bartenders found his specialty shot to be awful.
Ed has his signature shot that he created.
Hot pussy!
It's disgusting.
But what exactly could they say? He was their boss after all. Anyway, even though Emily tried her best to turn things around and would even suggest ideas to improve the bar's reputation, Cressy wouldn't listen.
I wanted to fix the bar once upon a time, and I had a lot of ideas that I thought I could implement.
At the time of seeking Taffer's help, the Dugout was losing more than $5,000 every month and was weeks away from closing down.
We were probably $30,000 in debt, lost $5,000 a month.
Phil Wills, a master mixologist, and Ryan Scott, a master chef, joined Taffer to recon the bar. They noticed that the bar was located in a busy area, however, it just blended into the background of the street.
Look at the front of this place.
Just kind of blends into everything.
As they watched through the CCTV cameras, they noticed that Emily and the owner were fighting, and that the bar's decor didn't have anything to do with sports. In order to spy on the bar, the famous rescuer recruits the help of a sports writer and one of his companions. Initially, they placed an order for a shandy and a Long Island iced tea.
Can I get a Long Island, please?
You got like a shandy?
However, when a large jug of Cressy's specialty drink, Hot Pussy, came out, it attracted the attention of Taffer, his experts, and even the spies.
What is that?
What is that? Oh, Lord Almighty.
Hot pussy shot.
What the is that?
But again, this was Cressy's way of marketing his drinks. After Emily briefly described the drink, Taffer and his team weren't impressed.
It is made of 4 different types of bourbon, cinnamon, brown sugar, and habanero pepper.
You don't do it in a sports bar with a 40-year-old customer in a room.
When the spies moved on to ordering burgers, they were informed that it was only served on game days.
Do you guys not have a burger or anything like that?
Only on game days.
With no other option in sight, the spies had to settle on getting mac and cheese with a side of ranch salad.
Can I just get some mac and cheese bites with ranch, please?
While they waited for their order, Taffer was absolutely appalled by the kitchen's unhygienic cooking practices.
He's touching raw product with his bare hands.
Not only were flies buzzing around, but they were also cross-contaminating.
There are flies all over the place. Oh, man.
This place was literally a breeding ground for germs. It looked like there was no end to how dangerous things could get in this place, since Cressy was even spotted doing things you could get jailed for. If you thought working without gloves was bad, Cressy took this a step further by doing this.
So now he breads the hot dog bun with his hand with the raw product.
Hands right into the pickle juice. That whole thing is spoiled now, John.
Oh, man.
He was not only contaminating the food, but was also wasting a perfectly good jar of pickles. After having seen more than enough, Taffer's rescue began in the most brutal way possible. Before the food reached the hungry and unsuspecting spies, Taffer ordered that the place be shut down immediately.
And do not let him send out any more food to any customers.
Chef Scott decided to show Cressy where things were going wrong, but the delusional owner appeared to be unconcerned. What would you do if you saw something as repulsive as this?
You literally have mold on the side. Disgusting grease that you're cooking food in. And are you pretty much just like, don't give a level is like right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
While the drama had just begun in the kitchen, things were getting heated behind the bar counters as well. When mixologist Wills ordered the bartender to make a Long Island fishbowl, the bartender simply tried his best to escape the test. He said,
You make a Long Island fishbowl? Oh my gosh, man. What's the recipe for that? So what kind of training do you guys have?
Despite the experts pointing out several issues with the bar, Cressy seemed to be unaffected.
Hi, my name is lazy and I can't clean this off.
3 hours of it.
3 hours my ass.
Regardless of the fact that his business was failing and his employees were relying on the business for a living, he could care less. Taffer then decided it was time to confront Cressy about his passive and unethical behavior, but was he really able to get through to him? Well, let's find out. When Chef Ryan instructed the staff to discard all the food that was stored in the kitchen, Cressy had one of the craziest reactions ever.
Good job on a Chicago pride, Ed.
We already thought this man had some screws loose, but the way he reacted to that was cuckoo. The germs, the grease, the flies, and filth didn't seem to bother the owner one bit. But throwing out contaminated food was his limit? What a nutcase.
Perfectly good food they threw out, man.
To understand the situation a little better, Taffer held a staff meeting. During this time, he met with Mike, who was the bar's part-time chef and Cressy's nephew.
What's your name?
Mike,
And what do you do here?
cook on and off. Eddie's my uncle.
On top of this, the owner finally admitted that he never wanted to run the bar. Shocker.
Never intended to operate this bar and take on the weight.
Emily, who seemed to be the only person concerned about the welfare of the bar, admitted something pretty damning. She said that, despite having applied for the managerial position more than a year ago, she never received any compensation.
I was bartending, doing manager work, and he told me, prove your point and we'll talk about salary. Tried to prove my point for about a year, but it wasn't good enough.
Since there were so many accusations being thrown around, and Cressy could care less about the bar's future, Taffer was heavily considering leaving.
Why would I do it for him? Should I do this style?
I mean, why put any effort into something that someone doesn't even want to have? So, what exactly does Taffer do? Well, he told his specialist to train the staff, and he'd decide what to do after the upcoming stress test.
I'm committing to getting through tonight, and then we will all talk tomorrow and see where we go from there. So let's go to work.
Hoping for a positive change, the famous rescuer gets the staff to clean the bar area. Soon after though, Cressy casually tells Chef Scott something that greatly upset him.
What's going on? It's got it clean last night or no?
No,
So who cleaned it?
probably nobody.
On top of this, the owner was so cheap that he decided to take all the discarded frozen food home for later use. How nasty.
What'd you do all with the food last night I threw away?
I put it back in the freezer so it wouldn't go bad, and I'll take it home.
Despite this, expert Wills helped train the staff and gave them some advice to increase their sales.
So we can't have these drinks that take a lot of ingredients. They have to be quick, because the quicker those drinks go out, the more revenue comes in.
In this case, the bar would actually benefit from using plastic cups.
We'll be using plastic cups due to the city ordinance regarding safety during Cubs season. In case they drop, you guys aren't picking up broken glass.
Wills believed that since the bar was so close to the stadium, providing straightforward cocktails that could be consumed quickly would benefit them greatly. When Cressy was put to the test, he finally understood how difficult it could be to prepare one drink.
Ed, I want you to come back here first, Ed. I'm gonna get you making a drink.
It's amazing how much thought can go into pouring 3 ingredients into a glass.
Being a bartender isn't an easy job, and Cressy finally came to that realization. Later, Chef Ryan showed the staff how to make a quick and simple Chicago-style hot dog in their relatively clean kitchen.
We're gonna serve a Chicago dog the right way to where you would want to come in and put money in our pocket.
Before he even began, Cressy became pressed about using freshly prepared hot dogs.
What do you think?
Wasn't impressed with it back then. Not a fan.
But to shut him down, this is what the expert chef did.
One thing what you like, but we have to remember what your customers like. It's about understanding your demographic.
Fast forward to the stress test, and Cressy was drinking before the doors even opened.
Hey guys.
Nice to meet you.
Now I will try the pomegranate.
Go, 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 go.
When the orders started to pile up, the kitchen began to feel the heat.
Here you go, runner please, runner.
Who's hungry? Ed, the next 10 people you see are on me, Ed.
Due to the lack of staff, Cressy filled in for the food runner's position, but sadly had no idea where the food had to go.
And the wrong guy's gonna get it, right?
It's a good possibility.
Although the bartenders put on a good show, Cressy forgot the only thing that he had to do, which was smile.
You're supposed to smile. I'm buying.
What about you? Drink up the 3. Am I not always smiling?
For this very reason, Taffer deemed the stress test to be a complete failure and shut the bar down for the night.
Have you guys seen Ed smile yet? No. Ed is a bummer. Let's shut this bar down.
The following day, expert Will certified the staff's abilities and taught them how to prepare a large batch of cocktails for game day.
So we're gonna create a nice punch for you guys. It's gonna sit on your back bar right here.
This made Cressy very unhappy since his crew allegedly never sold his creation.
You would sell that, but you never sold the hot pussy. You only badmouth.
He doubted the need for yet another cocktail since it would probably just be thrown away eventually.
And they want a shot and a beer. Keep it simple.
Emily, the bartender, expressed how she was concerned that Cressy would probably just discard any changes Taffer made. That was just the way he was.
He's gonna get all of it and it's all gonna go back to exactly how it was.
And just as she predicted, Cressy continued to be a pain, which resulted in one of his employees leaving.
I can't take this.
You done?
Totally bull.
Angry from the situation, the owner stormed out, leaving behind a team of worried employees.
You guys don't need me.
You want to just walk away?
Done.
Not really sure how to proceed, Taffer was torn between ending the rescue and proceeding with it.
And that this is important to you guys, I would not do this, but I will finish it.
In the event that he was unable to save the bar, this is what he asked the staff to do.
I suggest you guys look for another job. Don't let this new bar make you stay with an ass.
However, Taffer being Taffer didn't let Cressy's poor behavior get in the way of the rescue. The bar was swiftly remodeled for the sake of the staff, and he wisely excluded Cressy from the unveiling.
Do you see Ed here? I didn't invite him.
The bar was renamed to the Press Box, and this is what it looked like.
Shut up. This is cool.
The inside was given a retro aesthetic with cozy lighting to replicate the Press Box at Wrigley Field. Instead of being just excited about the bar's relaunch, Cressy showed up all intoxicated.
John, my God! How are you?
You're drunk, aren't you?
No, not at all.
Upon seeing such an irresponsible owner, the staff decided to do this.
Tell him what you want to do, guys.
I quit.
Good luck.
Clearly though, Cressy was unshaken. He shamelessly decided to offer free drinks to the people who came in and offered no gratitude to Taffer.
You guys coming into the dugout? Buy your drinks all night long. Let's go.
On the contrary, he actually ended up insulting the famous rescuer.
He can go himself. It's like a pony in a dog show.
This might have been one of the most disastrous unveilings in bar rescue history. 6 weeks later, the bar's sales were pretty unclear. The hard-working bartenders, including Emily, moved on to other ventures while the hot pussy shot made its way back onto the menu. For the love of God. The bar reverted back to its original name, the Dugout, and an additional area was built upstairs, which was named the Press Box. That reminds me, why don't you press the like button after coming this far and subscribe to our channel for more? We put out fantastic content, so why not just do it? Anyway, back to the video. Even after the show, Cressy was quite the handful. Not only did he describe his run on bar rescue to be a complete nightmare, he predictably reversed all of Taffer's changes, which is such a waste. Interestingly enough, in July of 2020, a video came out of the bar violating the state's reopening laws. Shortly thereafter, the city opened an investigation into some of the claims, including the lack of social distancing and staying open past 11 p.m. As of today, despite all the setbacks, the dugout is still open. But wait till you see this. You won't believe the mess that this owner landed himself in. To start things off, we've got a bar from season 1 where the staff wasn't paid on time, was robbed of their tips, and was forced to do something ridiculous. Rather than just restock the alcohol with the owner's money, you won't believe who had to pay for it. But we'll talk about that shortly. Let's head over to Old City, Philadelphia, where this incredibly shady bar was located. We're of course referring to a bar called Swanky Bubbles, which sank deeper and deeper into debt with each passing day. I know, it's probably one of the worst names I've ever heard. Who in their right mind would pick something like that? In fact, John Taffer believed that this bar was established as a trend bar.
I believe Swanky Bubbles was created as a trend bar.
For those of you who don't know what those are, simply put, they're bars that follow trends like champagne bars, cigar bars, or ice bars. Basically anything that's hot and happening, they'll just latch onto it like a leech. Well, if you ask me, Taffer wasn't wrong in his assumption. John Frankowski was so inspired by a champagne bar in New York City that he wanted to establish a bar of his own. To the owners, Frankowski and Ryan Dorsey, this place was everything. And it's not wrong to say that Swanky Bubbles truly had a swanky start. Back in the day, they made quite the statement in the neighborhood. The bar had quickly started to cash in $100,000 every month, and the business hit its peak of popularity in no time.
In our heyday, this place was doing $100,000 in business a month. It was just rock and rolling.
But soon, things started to go south. Imagine what it feels like to make $100,000 every month, and in just 3 years, you drop down to losing $4,000 every month. If Frankowski continued to take the backseat and Dorsey failed to make the right decisions for the bar, Swanky Bubbles would go down under. And this is why Taffer sent in the only person he trusted for honest feedback, his wife, Nicole. For this episode, Nicole turned into Taffer's Recon agent, and along with her friend Valerie, they spied on the bar. She discovered that the place was supposed to be a Japanese joint, but something didn't add up.
Is this a Japanese joint?
The menu was so huge that it completely confused the two.
This is like a bizarrely huge, unattractive menu.
I mean, if I was hungry and I saw that cluster of words, it would make me angry. It's way too hard to pick when there's too many choices, which is why the Swanky Bubbles menu was an absolute mess. Nicole was so put off by this jumble of text that she kept referring to it as the Colossal Menu.
Call it the Colossal Cocktail Menu.
Not gonna lie, she isn't wrong about that one. Finally, when Nicole made up her mind and placed an order for a drink, the bartender told her something really disappointing. He said that they wouldn't be able to serve the drink since they didn't have the main ingredient, vanilla cognac.
Decadence.
I don't have vanilla cognac.
Wait, you don't have the vanilla?
Yeah, I don't have the vanilla cognac.
That's not a really good impression you're making there. But the bartender made it even worse when he said that the lady shouldn't regret missing out on the drink since, in truth, it wouldn't have been good anyway.
The drink itself is not...
It's a bad drink.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a bartender here who's pushing out the idea that his bar's drinks suck. In that case, how could you expect anyone to come back? But if you thought the bartender would drive customers away by downplaying the drinks, then you're absolutely wrong. It's what the co-owner did that would definitely send these ladies running for the doors. Just as Valerie and Nicole were trying to weigh out their options and come to a decision on what to drink, guess who approached them? Ryan Dorsey. Dorsey came across as a desperate man who couldn't pass the idea of speaking to beautiful women. He first started off by asking them what they were drinking. And when Nicole spotted a drink with a very interesting name, Dorsey immediately jumped in to take credit for the drink's unusual name. You won't believe what he called it. He called it a sexual chocolate martini.
Sexual chocolate martini?
Who came up with that?
That's me.
Now tell me, which woman in her right mind would willingly opt for a drink that sounded so awfully suggestive?
I don't know any woman that would ever come to a place that had a sexual chocolate martini.
I mean, it just sounds so creepy, but for Dorsey, this happened to be something to be proud of. He was so smitten by the ladies that 5 minutes later, he offered them free drinks.
I want to do the white chocolate decadence.
If you're nice to me, I'll give them to you. How about that? Let's get a round of those there, sunshine.
Yup, that's one way to swiftly double up your losses. Nicole and her friend quickly ended the night by saying that it was getting late, but the real reason for leaving was obviously Dorsey.
You know what? It's a little late.
Please,
All
listen.
right. Bye. You too. Ryan did make us feel a little uncomfortable. Creepy, creepy, creepy. Wowzer.
His close proximity and cheap demeanor was actually making them really uncomfortable. Dorsey was definitely crossing the line.
He was definitely crossing the line.
Taffer knew what he had to do to fix this issue, so he walked into the bar to talk to the co-owner. But the bar was so small that they had to go somewhere private to talk. When Taffer confronted Dorsey about the bar failing and losing money, he started to reveal the past. According to Dorsey, he was brought in as a partner and his role was to have his eyes and hands on the bar. This included monitoring the general manager, the staff, and things like that.
History here, I was brought on as a partner probably 4.5, 5 years ago. My other partner is a little older, be more of his eyes and hands-on, monitor our general manager, our staff.
Dorsey claimed that he came in almost every other day and tried to blame the bar's failure on his partner Frankowski.
I stop in every day. I'm here pretty much almost every day. We're both running it.
It's interesting that Ryan is trying to deflect this and blame it on John.
As the conversation went on, Taffer was starting to get furious.
Well, you're just gonna bull me and skate around every question I ask you.
The bar genius was trying to strike up a serious conversation, but Dorsey only smiled and laughed in his face.
If you think this is funny, then we'll stop, because it's not funny to me.
It was clear by now that Dorsey wasn't serious about any of it. He wasn't the type of guy who would just admit his mistakes, but instead, he chose to deflect it all on the other owner, who was MIA, by the way. Since talking to Dorsey was a waste of time, Taffer decided to speak with the staff. Initially, the staff were hesitant with spilling the beans. But once Taffer reassured them of his control on the bar and how he wanted to just make things better, things changed.
These guys work for me. I'm in control. I can move, I can do whatever the hell I want to do.
One by one, each employee began revealing some things that were really shocking. A bartender named Max said that the bar area was initially built for one person. The area would get so cramped up at times that it was easy to break things just by moving your shoulder.
The bar's not built for one person, let alone two. I mean, you take your shoulder out, you break things just because there's just not enough room there.
While this might sound like an exaggeration, Taffer mentioned this himself when he first arrived, remember?
I've never seen anything like this in all my years. How did you allow this to be built?
As the meeting pressed on, it was now time for an employee named Michelle to pitch in with more details. The bartender and server informed Taffer that they were almost always out of liquor.
We're always out of something. Liquor.
Champagnes.
It's not like I'm okay with making excuses, but at least if it happened to a busy bar, I could understand the inventory shortage. But Swanky Bubbles? This bar was always running empty. It just looks like they simply didn't bother to stock up. So here we have a bar with barely enough room, few tables, and little to no alcohol. And this is exactly why the bar stood out from the others for being exceedingly bad. But the show must go on. Whether the bosses cared or not, the staff stepped up to save their jobs. And so Efrain, the general manager of the place, took the lead. While Efrain was in charge of placing orders for the drinks, in reality he did way more than that. According to him, as a general manager, he was only allowed a certain amount of money to buy everything that was needed to run the bar.
I'm only allotted a certain amount of money to go to liquor, so I try to make ends meet.
Okay, clearly this amount wasn't enough. So to ensure that the bar was stocked up, Efrain had to do something really drastic. What he did saved many of his employees from being unemployed. Just check this out.
I have bought liquor with my own pocket money just to keep the bar stocked. As a manager, I should have some control of the money, whatever, but I don't. The owners do.
It's one thing to not receive your paychecks on time, but imagine spending your own money on a bar that you don't even own. That's a totally different level of exploitation. But Efrain did this regardless. As a manager, ideally, he should have had some amount of control over the money, but the owners didn't allow it. Things had gotten so bad that they didn't even have a par. And well, if you're wondering what a par means, here's a quick little lesson on how to stock a bar. Basically, in bar language, a par is the inventory level that is needed to ensure that the bar doesn't run out of stock. If the par is 8 bottles of vodka and it's at 5, then the manager has to buy 3 more bottles of vodka to bring it back up to the par. And at Swanky Bubbles, forget about keeping up with the par, they were actually running at subpar. Whether you look at their quantity or quality, both of them were subpar. At this point, Frankowski tried his very best to defend their actions as owners, but he was at least honest enough to admit that Dorsey had created more harm than good.
With the business dropping as it has, we piecemeal everything day to day in lieu of having our inventories and our pars.
And how's that working for you?
I'm not pleased with Ryan. Our friendship aside, as a partner, I'm not pleased with the way things are run right now.
Frankowski also admitted that they couldn't afford to maintain their pars since they simply didn't have enough money to do so. But just as the owners attempted to get away from the situation, Jessica, another struggling bartender, had something really crucial to say. What she said was not only affecting the revenue of the bar, but also the income of the staff. Jessica spoke about how Dorsey would frequently invite several groups of his friends to entertain them with free drinks at the bar.
He always has friends around. Their food is comped, their drinks are comped.
And since they were the owners' guests, the bartenders had to pay special attention towards them. At this point, the other patrons who were actually paying for their drinks weren't receiving the attention they deserved. But then Jessica had something more to reveal. What she said will make you wonder why the staff continued to remain at the bar.
It's like, I have to concentrate on you because you are Ryan's friend, but then they don't tip.
But what Dorsey said in response to this will prove how irresponsible he was as a co-owner. According to him, besides all the administrative tasks and the headache associated with it, Dorsey believed that having fun was a right. And since he was the owner, he had the right to share joy and liquor amongst his friends.
My friends and I, we come in here a lot. It is part of my job, you know? Not just the administrative and the headaches and all that stuff. I mean, you gotta have some fun.
But what he didn't realize was this was only possible at the cost of his business. You could see that he had absolutely no remorse for his actions. After all the revelations that surfaced, friendship aside, as a partner, Frankowski was highly displeased with Dorsey's behavior. But wait, where had he been this whole time? Had he contributed equally to the business and its operations, maybe Dorsey would have never taken advantage of his absence. If you ask me, I wouldn't place the entire blame on Dorsey alone. Frankowski was equally responsible for the downfall of this business. Either way, none of this justifies how they treated their staff. But this next bar owner who didn't pay his staff for weeks was technically running his bar out of the money he owed them. For this entry, let's move on from a champagne bar to an Irish pub. Packy's in Milwaukee was opened by Packy Campbell, who immigrated from Ireland with just $700 in his pocket. Packy had a vision to achieve his American dream, which he eventually did manage to achieve. But sadly, he couldn't sustain it. Packy had previously managed a bar, so he assumed that he had enough experience to open his own.
I thought I had enough experience to open my own bar.
Like most bars that are off to a great start, Packy's was always busy when it first opened. Being an Irish bar, ironically there was hardly anything Irish about it. It was more like a boring sports bar without a TV or even a weary nightclub with no dance floors. And so eventually business at Packie started to spiral downward just as quickly as it went up. For the Recon team, Taffer brought in Jerry Graham, a national brand ambassador for Bushmills Irish whiskey. Graham was also a well-known whiskey master, which is exactly what you need at an Irish pub. Renowned chef Gavin Murphy, who's a private chef for famous stars like Tom Brady and James Cameron, was brought in to help around the kitchen. With these two men, the traditional taste of Ireland could be brought into this desolate joke of a bar. When the experts arrived, the first thing that they noticed was that there was no stove in the kitchen.
So here's our kitchen.
I don't see a stove.
But when you actually looked at the bar, something totally different was going on. Guppy, Campbell's friend and the co-owner, used the bar as his personal playground.
Hey, Guppy's bigger than him, you know.
He could down almost 4 ounces of shots in just one go.
Jesus.
He's gulping 4-ounce drinks.
Wow.
Now imagine what kind of spectacle that might create at a bar. Definitely not the kind of example you want to be setting as an owner. Anyway, Guppy was clearly out of control, and that's exactly what was happening with the bar. There was absolutely no sign of any control, not over the sales and not over the staff. When the Recon team was sent in, they placed an order for a dry martini and some wings.
I have to have a dry martini. Do you want wings? Yeah, 2, please.
Guppy poured an insane amount of martini into a mixer cup, and this scared the hell out of Graham. Not because of the quantity, but because of its color.
What is it? Dirty martini. Extra dirty.
But at the very same time, he found something way more off-putting than the color.
It looks like a margarita for crying out loud.
Oh, for sake. I mean, that's,
So if you're wondering how the flies got in there, then let's put your curiosity to rest. While Guppy tried to make a joke out of it and brush the matter aside, Graham found bottles and bottles of liquor with different kinds of bugs in them.
I'm just getting rid of the flies.
You get enough of them on your dinner every night.
Now, when it came to the food, things weren't any better. Chef Murphy thought it was some of the worst Irish food he's ever tasted.
Sauce is all burnt into it, no good.
The food is
The food severely lacked Irish flavors and, more importantly, passion. While one setback after another was uncovered, Guppy had further down 3 more shots. By now, Taffer knew it was time to intervene since things had already gotten way too far. The bar genius wanted to know how many bottles had bugs in them, and when he asked Guppy about it, you won't believe what he said.
What bottles have fruit flies in them? Show them to me.
probably every one of them.
But it's not until Graham actually started to line up the bottles that we learned that he was actually telling the truth. Honestly, I'm more surprised with his honesty than anything. But guess what? I'm not here to bug you. But I truly think you should drop a massive like down below and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It's free, so why not just do it? With that out of the way, let's head back into the kitchen where the meat was stored at the wrong temperature.
This chicken, what's the ideal temperature for this chicken?
40, you think so?
55.
56. It's all garbage.
This meant that the chicken being served had tons of hazardous bacteria on it. Obviously, this was a major health code violation. But how and when did a bar that once made $20,000 every week turn into this disappointment? To answer this question, we need to look no further than the outrageous co-owner, Guppy. While Campbell might have had the passion and desire to scale up his business, all Guppy did was drink more than the bar could even earn. Over the years, the bar had reached a point where there was barely any inventory. Customers would come asking for Irish drinks, but there wasn't really anything Irish to give.
You can't have an Irish bar and not have Guinness. You can't have an Irish bar and not have Bushmills.
On top of that, to make matters even worse, something terrible came up during the staff meeting. One of the bartenders was accused of stealing money from the registers, and this is why she said she did it.
Stealing. Summer?
And why do you say that? Does a $20 bill wind up in your tip cup every once in a while?
Yes.
Why?
I have 3 kids at home, Peggy. You don't pay me. Now we're behind more than 2 checks.
How long haven't you been paid in summer?
Probably over a month.
Can you believe that? The employee had to steal to keep her house running? And this was only because she never got paid? What's even more surprising is that none of the employees, including Guppy, were ever paid.
Raise your hand. Who else hasn't been paid?
That is absolutely unethical. Campbell had a problem with his employees stealing from him, but this is what Taffer had to say about it.
If you're going to give them a job, you have a responsibility to set up the business to be successful.
Right.
Everybody standing here is unprotected, and you are an unethical.
That's really sad. I'm totally at a loss for words right now. These bar owners who didn't pay their staff just don't deserve to be owners. They're better off losing their business than exploiting their employees. But do you really think it's okay to steal from your boss just because he didn't pay you? What do you think you would do in this situation? Let us know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, guys!